the need to ask in what I thought was a politeful manner. I asked him, yo, is everything all right? And that's what I said, and that's how I said it. And however that resonated with him, he said, what? You don't know me. And he went into his pants and he pulled out a nickel-plated 9mm handgun, and he started walking toward me on the bus. Now, I could have, from a pseudo self-worth standpoint, said something else to challenge him even further. At that point, I decided, you know what, you've probably done enough pseudo self-worth activity for today. Why don't you just be quiet, and hopefully this plays out to your advantage. So he came toward me, came in front of me, was looking at me. I was looking at him, but it was a different looking at him. And he backed up, gun still in hand, sat back down, gun still in hand, on this crowded bus, and my stop came and I got off the bus.
Wow.
That experience allowed me to let go of that little New York thing that I was carrying. That is a pseudo self-worth thing. It's the thing that we walk around with where we say, I'm from the streets and I'm not going to let anybody do this, that, or the other. That does not matter. That does not matter. It's about you and who you are and how you're going to apply wisdom in any and all situations.
Yeah.
There was no need for me to ask him except for coming out of a place of pseudo self-worth.
Right. And speaking of self-worth and the way that people come at you and everything, I know for a fact, because we've had on this show as well as on just in my life in general, I've run into people that have this attitude and everything. Sometimes if you write a book about a subject, like if you write a book about sociology, you write a book about psychology, you can write a book about, say, baseball, but you didn't necessarily come out of those worlds. Those people that come out of those worlds are then going to feel that you don't have the credentials necessarily to write about what you've written about. So I was wondering, if you hear people that have that argument, how do you address that argument? If people take this book as being, say, a self-help book or a psychology book or something that is a field that people study, but they feel that you did not come out of that background. And I don't even remember what your own academic background is, but if they feel that for whatever reason you didn't come out of that background, how do you address people that are then automatically not going to give you credibility because they feel that you don't have the same credibility as they have from their industry?
Well, it's a perfectly timed question, and that not from the perspective of the book, but from the perspective of being in the natural foods industry for over 2 decades, being a non-culinary trained chef, but being able to give folks some insight and some directions on how to improve their health and well-being. I had someone refer to me today as Dr. Ya'ai. Now, I'm downplaying that. I'm not necessarily interested in being Dr. Ya'ai, but I get what they're saying. Now, I would never prop myself up and have people calling me Dr. Ya'ai or take that name on. But with respect to this book is about my assessment of my experiences. Now, to the extent that I studied organizational management and have been in leadership roles and have learned that in organizations there are 2 essential things that can make or break your organization. Those 2 essential things are honesty and communication. And the fact that this book is designed to have you address your honesty with self, I can say that I have some professional experience and background on the subject. And then the other experience is the book. The book is my life experience. Now, certainly it is also my interpretation of the assessment that I have made based on myself and then confirmed by my assessment of other people. But it's very hard for anyone to challenge me in this book without first looking at how they respond to this concept of sincere and pseudo self-worth as it relates to themselves. So this, my thing when I write the book is I need for you to look at you as it relates to these concepts and see if it matches. And at the point where it matches, then the conversation's over. Now we can just deal with improving on ourselves and moving forward accordingly.
I hear some beeping in the background. I'm not sure if that's Mark or if that's me. I'm quite sure mine will be a little bit higher than that.
That's my backup
okay.
phone.
See, your backup phone is telling you right now, hey, look. But that's all right though. Knowing, I guess, for someone who's considering, and we'll go back to the healthy living part, for someone who's considering maybe changing their lifestyle but not really sure about what they should be doing or how they should do it, what advice do you have for them in that respect?
Take a look at some of the documentaries and see how they resonate with you. And the same way y'all had the brief conversation where Mark asked you about, what it is that you eat or drink or, that you just, quote, unquote, can't let go of, start to identify those things along with, all right, let's talk about what it is that you need to have more of. People need to drink more water or people need to eat more live vegetables. Basic conversation. Let's just go ahead and chip away at some of the big picture things. Watch some documentaries, get some information, and then bounce that information off of your life as it is or the life of family and friends around you, and look for the consistencies or inconsistencies based on what the documentary talked about. But specifically, what is it that you need to get a better handle of that you haven't quite been able to do so or been willing to do so? And what is it you need to just, I know I need to drink more water. What am I going to do to drink more water? And, where I come into play, if you want to reach out to me for some free information or guidance, I'll help you to be very creative about how you can fake yourself out or into making better decisions. I'll give you one quick example. If you have the appropriate vessel for drinking water, it's going to help increase your water intake. This doesn't work for everybody, but for a lot of folks, if they have like the perfect water bottle or the perfect glass or the perfect cup that makes it that much more fun or convenient to consume water, it's going to work. They're going to consume more water. Oh, wow. I don't know what that is, but what I do is share what my experiences are and then have people think about that for themselves, and then they figure out what that item is, what that vessel is, and move from there.
Right.
It has to be fun.
And coming back to the book, how far is the book from being officially out in the market, and when do you think it will be available to the world, and how will they find the book?
I am doing a final read-through. I'm at page 34. I have 134 pages. I anticipate that I will be able to have this book sent to print in the next week, and I anticipate that by the second week in November, I should have printed copies in hand, and will, utilizing all of my marketing resources, social media, massive email list from Vegan Flavor Cafe, from some of my other ventures, Love Being Apart, the workshop folks, Being Better by Eating Better, using all of these modes, and then flyers and having them around the city, be able to get the word out that the book is here, it's ready, and also doing work with schools, because this self-worth piece, I talk a lot about the children in the book, because the children, we teach children about this self-worth concept, and then we let them sort of experience it, and we guide them accordingly. And sometimes we don't guide them. And then you have children who are in desperate need of attention and willing to do whatever they have to do to get it. So I'm looking at tying this message into the schools as well, public and private, so that they can get a hold of this before they become adults and it gets out of hand.
What's the most shocking thing as you were researching your book and you were writing this book, and the book sounds like it's close to 200 pages long and everything, that you personally were shocked by as you were writing the book? Something that your research and your development of this book caught you off guard?
I did not realize that there were more suicides, generally speaking, around the world in every country than there were homicides. I did not realize that more people took their lives than had their lives taken by someone else, which was that much more important or that much more inspiring for me to get this book out, because I feel like if we have a greater sense of self-worth, of sincere self-worth, then there's that much less of a chance that we would be inclined to take our life because we don't value our life, because we don't think that people are valuing us. If we value ourselves, then we don't necessarily need that external value such that it causes us to take our own life. So that was astonishing when I learned that.
Wow. And how much do you feel that is the ties that we have to our family folks? Because I know a lot of times when people do things like take their own lives, or even when they do things like what happened in Vegas, it's oftentimes the family members that are the ones that are claiming that they're shocked that happened. And I'm wondering if it comes back to something else that you mentioned earlier about communications, where we claim that we're communicating a lot with these people that are important in our lives, but maybe we're only doing not just pseudo self-worth, but maybe we're only doing pseudo communication, because maybe that's part of the reason that we don't understand what's going on internally with these people, whether it's something them lashing out at the world like the Las Vegas shooter did, or whether it's them lashing out, quote unquote, at themselves, even though a lot of times when you lash out at yourself and you eliminate yourself from the world, you are also, to some degree, also lashing out at those around you, because it has a deep and significant impact on them, because a lot of times they'll start raising questions about why they didn't know you were going through what you were going through, or why they weren't able to get you the help that you needed.
I love this question because it forces me to think about a friend who I have who will talk to you, who'll call you or receive your call, but will talk more than listen. And the talking is about his pseudo self-worth. The talking is about things that make him feel good about himself based on impressing you with himself. So if you have a family member like this, where they may call you all the time, but they call you, but they're not really listening to you. As a matter of fact, I even mentioned that the book was almost done. And there was no reply, no comment, no, oh, wow, that's good. There was nothing. It was like I didn't even say it. The person went right back into what he was talking about. So we might talk to family members who are dealing with things, but we're not listening to them. And if we're not listening to them and they know they're not being heard, then, the last thing you want to do is feel like you're alone in this great big old world. But the best thing you can do is feel great when you're alone, so that the world and the external forces are just potentially adding on to how great you feel about yourself and your life experience. So it's a very dynamic situation if you don't have people who you can, quote unquote, talk to, who will actually listen. And we can tell when people are listening to us versus just letting us talk.
Which raises another interesting question. We live in a very, and you mentioned it earlier even about the vegan part, and this comes back to the book. We live in a very technological society. I mean, I'm not going to lie, if I post later on this evening that we had you on the show and I get likes, I'm going to enjoy that. But I sometimes think that our society has become so technologically